Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures. Tonight, we are on episode, I believe it is 356. We are going to be talking a little bit about walking on ice. So a little bit of background, a couple things here. One, yes, we're back. Two, I'm still a little under the weather, so I'm going to try and keep this informative and brief. Three, as you may have noticed, Ben is not necessarily in his office like he has been in previous podcasts. So, Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're at, as comfortable as you are, and then we'll get right into the episode.
Yeah, I just have the week off, so I went camping. So we are near, I'll say, Isoyos, BC. So a little bit of more desert country, kind of hilly. It's interesting, but I'll tell you the beauty is there's a lot more sun here than there is on the coast. So I was missing some sunlight. So we came here for some sunlight. So yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, it looks great. Looks awesome from here. It's very picturesque, as we were saying just before we came on. We were a minute or two late there, but that's so we could get the perfect shot there. And it does look amazing. So yeah, jumping right into it so we don't hold anybody up too long. I wanted to talk a little bit about walking on ice, or just ice in general, on this podcast. And this is more of a public service announcement, information session, whatever you want to call it. Reason that I kind of brought this up, and I did mention it to Ben, was, well, one, we're talking about at the fire department. This is one of the busier times of year where we get more calls for people being out on ice because the weather's warmer. People want to get out and do stuff, but they think it's still cold enough to potentially still go out in the ice and, cross rivers, cross lakes, do ice fish and stuff like that. And I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying you got to be a little bit more aware of what's going on around you. And hopefully that's what we're going to kind of talk about here tonight. That kind of match what your thoughts are here, Ben?
Yeah, exactly.
And I apologize, folks. You are going to hear me lean away and cough from time to time. Like I said, I'm still not quite 100%. This is the longest flu I think I've had since I was a kid. And it will not let go. It's all down in my chest, but it's getting better. Anyway, when it comes to ice, there is a couple different types of ice. So my plan here, Ben, was just kind of name them, describe them very briefly, a couple of key points, and some considerations around them. And like I said, this is going to be like a PSA, information blast. Try and keep it short, and to the point. That way people don't wander off, because I think it is important, mainly because I'm a first responder and I deal with this stuff on a frontline basis. But it's good information for everybody to either be refreshed on, or if you're not familiar with it, you're just getting into it, it's good information to load your arsenal of skills in the back of your head, because information lives free. We've said that before. Actually, that's Ben coined that. I just take it from him. And I'm sure you probably got it from somewhere else.
Probably.
So, this time of year, like I said, the ice is kind of shriveling up. It's getting warmer on the top, so it's melting from the top. Water always kind of stays around 4 degrees Celsius at the bottom, so it's always kind of constantly melting from the bottom anyway. So now you're kind of getting this double layered effect. It's shrinking faster than you think, and that's kind of the big point of things here today. So I'm going to kind of work backwards to this, because I think chronologically how ice is made may make more sense than the ice we're dealing with here today. And maybe you can keep me on point here, Ben, just to make sure it makes sense to you. Because like I said, I condensed all of this, and I actually have real notes. First time I've done this in a while. So when things start getting cold, generally it starts building frazzle ice. And frazzle ice is like if you've ever looked out over a puddle, when you first get up, like late in the fall, you'll see that real thin, shimmery layer of ice. It's not really ice, but it's kind of ice. And that's what frazzle ice is, and that's what the basics of all ice start from. Basically, as water freezes, it forms crystals, they interjoin, it gets thicker, makes it solid, and eventually you can put weight on it, which is great, because once you get enough ice that you can travel on it, you can cover a lot more area, a lot faster, a lot more conveniently than traveling through the bush. That's why it's enticing, that's why people want to do it, and I encourage it when it's safe. Fragile slush, same kind of deal, it's just slush, usually caused by current, so I'm not going to get into that too long. Pancake ice.
Or snow.
Oh, snow. Yeah, very much snow. You can get like frazzle ice on top of, if it snows and then you get a little bit of rain or something, that'll kind of create that frazzly ice for you. Pancake ice, that's like your sheets of ice or the little centers of ice that you'll see floating around in a lake, and eventually they'll all collect together and make the classic pack ice or sheet ice that a lot of people are familiar with, where you kind of hop from place to place. Fun thing is you're a kid, probably not that safe in, being realistic with it. And it is probably one of the more dangerous things, especially this time of year, because once again, you get that false sense of hope that that ice is thicker than it really is, because you're like, oh, it was just cold, a month ago. I'm sure that ice is still thick under the water. When, like we said, the key point to take away is water under the ice generally stays at around 4 degrees Celsius. After you go down so deep, that's just kind of where water stays. It gets insulated by the ice above it, and ice kind of freezes from the top and keeps going up, and as it pushes itself down, that bottom part kind of melts off. And once again, I'm super simplifying this because I don't want to get too much into it. I'm just trying to throw the key points out. Does that make sense so far, Ben?
Yep.
Get on the mushrooms, man. No more flus. So we got Steve, Andrew, and Eric joining us here, and he was just telling me about, actually, funny enough, Steve, I'm out, from the last time we met up. I was taking, some of that stuff. We got to talk. I not necessarily want to get more from you. I want to learn how to make my own and stuff like that, but that's a whole other day. So yeah, if you want to ice hop this time of year, I'm not your mother. I'm not going to tell you don't. I am going to say that there's risk involved. Same as there is any time. This time of year, a little bit more because it gives you false sense of hope. Snow ice is another big one you're going to kind of run across here this time of year because you're going to get snow. It's going to get cold. It's going to freeze into kind of its own little ice thing. But keep in mind that snow ice, it's like ice that got damp and then froze. It's very full of air. It's very porous. Great insulator. Usually causes the ice below it to stay warmer than the ice above it. You can start getting air pockets. It's just not really structurally sound ice. Looks good. Looks very white, very clean. Generally white ice, not your strongest ice. Kind of counterintuitive to how you would think about this, because when you look at hockey rinks and stuff like that, they're all white. Keeping in mind that they're generally white by the colors that are laid underneath them. You know what I mean? And I'm not making fun of anyone. I've actually heard people say this during some of the courses I've taught was, well, I think white ice should be the strongest. I mean, hockey players play on it. That's from, under that ice, there's generally some tarps and stuff like that keep the water from floating out. It's pretty much all colored from that. True strong ice, perfectly clear if you can get it.
Yeah, the whiter it is, the more air is in it, basically. So
yeah, impurities in general is what we say. It's the more impure. So when we say impurities, it can be air. That's the classic one. That's the big one you're going to get most of. Happens a lot when you have flowing water, spring-fed water, tidal water. Movement is what it comes down to. If you're in an area with a lot of wind, you can get wind-swept ice. It stays white. A lot of rain and freeze. It'll be disturbed. It'll turn white. You can get a lot of sediment and crap in the ice. It'll have a tinge to whatever the sediment color is. Plus, it'll also look a little opaque because it's got that air trapped in it with it. So yeah, white ice, generally not your friend. I threw this one down here, and I'm just going to mention it as kind of a oh hey moment, simply because probably not going to be the majorest thing for people on top of the ice. This is more of a thing under the ice, and it's called candle ice. And if you were to pick a piece of ice up and you would see these long tendrils coming off the bottom of it, that's kind of what candle ice is. Generally, it's breaking down due to melting conditions. So like spring-fed, stuff like that, it might have that warmer water coming up, melts a little bit of it, gets into the crevices, finds those impurities, melts it away. So the reason it might be important to the casual walker is if the ice is moving and you see a chunk that flips up and it has like these fingers coming out of it, the ice around the area is probably generally more unstable. You know what I mean? So once again, sound, use a stick. Where's my walking stick? I actually have it behind me here somewhere, right there beside the tree. Sure. Take a stick, hit the ice a little bit, spread your weight out. Anytime you're walking on an ice, on ice, you should try to keep your weight spread out. And you can get snowshoes specifically for doing this. They're called ice shoes, and they look like snowshoes, but they're more square, generally have a little bit more tongs on the bottom of them, like you'll get sharper points and stuff for grip. But the whole idea is spreading your weight out. Same as if you're traveling with gear or other people, try to spread yourself out. If you can get your pack off your back and drag it behind you on a sled or even a makeshift pole, that's that much less weight pushing down on your 2 feet in a very condensed area. Once again, sounds like common sense, but guess what, folks? There's no such thing as common sense, only acquired knowledge. And if you don't acquire the knowledge, it's not common sense. Isn't that philosophical for you here today? Anyway, moving on. Anchor ice, and this one's kind of neat to the general people. Anchor ice is the ice that originally forms around an object in the water. So think like nice lake overlooking cold fall morning, afternoon, whatever. And you get that ice building up around like the cattails and the burdocks or the rocks and stuff like that. Now they're saying no picture, but I have no frames dropped. Eric's saying no picture there. Steve, can you confirm? I know, I just want to make sure we don't have a problem. Yeah, I was going to say, everything looks good on my side, Eric. What was I talking about? Anchor ice, yeah. It's kind of visually nice. There's actually a real neat viral video going around of a lake like flowing over some of this anchor ice. And it looks really amazing. It's really pretty. Obviously not for walking on, but if any of your kids or somebody else ask you, you can point and say, hey, that's anchor ice. And that's just that little tidbit of information you got tucked in the back of your head. There's flow ice, which is free-flowing ice. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. Flowing ice, however... some wind sound coming through with Ben. Yeah, I know, Steve. It's just where he happens to be. I put a condenser on to try and cut some of it out, but we're not going to get all of it if we still want to hear Ben a little bit.
Here. I'll move into the van.
I think he's going to get a windbreak there. So yeah, flow ice. Flow ice can look really fun, really pretty. You'll see, once again, generally younger folks, they'll jump from ice flow to ice flow as it's like going down a river. Here's my qualms on that as a first responder. Keep in mind, these big chunks of ice, significantly heavier than you think. We don't think about ice as being a big indestructible force because, I mean, we have ice in our drinking glasses, stuff like that. It's lighter than water. It floats. But the reality is, keep in mind, a glacier is just a big chunk of ice and it can carve out land. So yeah, ice can be heavy, and if you accidentally get trapped in between it and two pieces come together, it's not just gonna hurt, it could potentially like squish or sever. So not the best thing. Once again, I'm not gonna follow you around and preach this stuff. I'm just throwing information, folks. I would recommend against trying to jump around on free-flowing ice. No, that's a windbreak. Yeah, I don't know what's going on for you there, Eric. I'm sorry that you lost video there, bud, but I think we're good. It says on my end I'm broadcasting, and Steve can see too, so I don't have a solution for you, man. Anyway, some free thoughts there, Ben. I know I've been rambling pretty hard here. You got anything you want to add in?
Well, I was going to concentrate more on understanding ice is vitally important because it gets you there. But if you get out there, there's a few things, and you hit a couple of them. Things like sleds, way to spread your way, snowshoes, or things like that. And you mentioned a stick, and I always carry a stick when I'm on ice because I test the ice. But also, if you're ever about to fall through, you can oftentimes catch yourself with the stick.
Yeah.
And it's just to throw it across and even throw yourself over it, and it'll spread that weight out. And even if you're traveling over the ice and you realize, hey, it's weak, but I have no choice now, I have to move. Laying down and putting your weight on that stick and kind of crawling, but spreading your weight over the greater area can get you over ice that you'd fall right through if you step up on it. And if somebody steps into ice, don't crawl up to them because that's weak. That stick will allow you to reach to them and help pull them towards the more solid ice so you can get out of there. And then, of course, if you ever fall through the ice, stay as dry as possible. So if you can stop yourself from going fully in, do, but then get dry. Like get that wet clothes off really quick because you can go into hypothermia really quick, and that freezing cold water is actually going to get colder as soon as it comes out into the cold air.
Yep, because the wind is whipping past it, it's pulling heat with it. So seeing we're on the topic self-rescue anyway, I'll add into this as well. You hit a lot of great points. When it comes to self-rescue, we've talked about the 1-10-1 rule, and this is just kind of a rule of thumb. You got 1 minute to catch control of your breathing. As anybody that's jumped into like a cold pool knows, sometimes it can shock you and you get that urge to kind of suck air in because, oh, you're shocked. Well, you have about 1 minute to get control of that reflex, and it is kind of an automatic reflex. You kind of got to get control of that. That way you can focus on not hyperventilating, because if you hyperventilate, well, that's going to make you a little woozy, and that's going to screw a bunch of stuff up. It's going to hinder your self-rescue. So you have 1 minute to get a hold of your breathing. You got generally 10 minutes. This is the 10 in the 1-10-1. You got about 10 minutes of useful dexterity of your hands, feet, and legs, meaning you can still generally feel to some degree your fingertips. You can still use your motor skills as well as you need to. You can still kick your legs, and you're not going to start quite feeling the effects of sluggishness from hypothermia. Then you have about 1 hour. So thus 1-10-1, you have about 1 hour before complete unconsciousness. And it is a long hour. It is a very uncomfortable hour. But generally it's about 1 hour before you're unconscious. Now, this isn't useful movement. This is unconsciousness, to where you can no longer respond. At the end of that hour, it might only be groans, but generally the research has shown that most people can still move a tiny bit, or at least acknowledge sound, which is important for us as responders. The 110 is more important for you folks when it comes to self-rescue. So coming to self-rescue, once you get that breathing under control, you don't want to try and take your hands and push yourself up on the ice, on the corner, like you would getting out of a pool or into a boat or something like that. That's the first instinct that most people do. And as we talked about, you're trying to push up on an already broken piece of ice. It's going to be weak there. You're concentrating all that weight on your palms. You push, that breaks away. You make this hole bigger and bigger and bigger, and yourself more and more tired. Believe it or not, it's actually easier to self-rescue from a smaller hole than a bigger hole, because you can use the surrounding perimeter to your advantage if it's small enough. So the proper way to self-rescue, for what it's worth, is if you can get something in your hands that you can claw yourself up, and they recommend your keys, a hiking pole. You can get specific pegs for when you're walking on ice. Belts, basically anything you can jam in your hand to make purchase into ice. Did you have something there, Ben?
Well, the ice picks, and the big thing with that is if you're going to have ice picks and you're walking on ice, they should be in your hands.
Funny enough, I have a set in the truck, and I meant to bring them in for this episode, and they're still sitting on my back seat.
But there's been a lot of cases where people were rescued with them still in their pockets or in their backpack, and they're like, "What?" And when people discuss it, they're like, "Well, they had the proper equipment, yeah, but it was useless because it wasn't accessible." And that's something that needs to be readily accessible in the moment.
So a lot of people, what they'll do, they usually come on a long cord. You can hang it around your neck and let them dangle down. I've also seen people run them through the sleeves off their coat. That way they're literally just at their arm's length, and they don't even got to fish around for them. They're just right there. And then take them out, because a lot of them will have like self-closing ends, so you're not sticking yourself with them. You can get the open-ended ones, which is just basically a handle with a spike on the end of it, or you can get the self-covering ones, which is still a handle with a spike on it, but then a little sheath that goes over it on a spring. That way it's not jabbing into everything. But anyway, yeah, you get something to get your purchase on the ice. Reach out kind of in a wide Y pattern that spreads your weight out a little bit, and then almost like you're gonna go swimming, try to kick your back legs up behind you, and as you level out, start pulling yourself forward. That keeps your weight spread out as most as you can, pulls you on it as you're being pulled on the ice. Your weight continues to stay spread out. Once you get at least a half to 3/4 of your body out of the hole, don't stand up. Rookie mistake. You know what I mean? Once again, people get halfway to 3/4 out. Oh, now I'm going to stand up. Straight back down they go, big chunk blown off. Get yourself sprawled out. Keep your arms out. Now roll away from the hole. And this sounds goofy, little funny, but roll away a good 10, 15, even 20 feet before then only getting up on all fours and basically crawl your butt off the ice. Because the second you stand up, you're reconcentrating that weight down on a smaller area with already broken ice. So a lot of folks, and you'll see this on videos and all that stuff, they'll have a hole like 15 feet away. Oh, I'm still fine. I'm jumping over here. And all of a sudden it buckles from the hole back to them and straight down they go. the structural integrity of that entire sheet has been compromised, which will travel. Ice is flexible. It flows a little bit. And much like glass, if it has a broke point or a break point, it's just going to snap and travel back. Think ABS plastic. You get a crack in the plastic, it just keeps traveling. You generally have to seal it off. Ice, much the same. So if you do go through, that's basically the last time you're going to stand on that ice. Now, the exception to that would be if you're out on like a 300-foot lake and you go in the center of it and you manage to self-rescue, you're probably not going to be able to roll the entire way back to shore. But once again, you're going to do like 20 feet. Then on all fours, go another 20 feet, or as long as you can go, then stand up. Put as much distance as you can between you and the hole. And now you kind of got to weigh your options between safety and getting out of there in a hurry and whatever other factors you have, how long it's going to take for rescue, get warmed up. But get away from that as far as you can before you ever dare to stand back up. Go ahead, Ben. There's a slight delay, so it's hard to switch back and forth like we normally do.
I mean, I fully agree with what you're saying. There's not much to add to that. Like, the one thing to be really careful is if you're in a spot where the ice is going to get weak as you approach the shoreline, chances are that is going to be another super weak point and probably going to break again. Almost no matter what you do, if the ice is starting to go, the first few feet from shore and around any object that pokes through it, be it a tree, a log, a rock, it tends to be weak near those points. And as it shifts around, that's breaking and beating that spot up. So your last few feet is also going to be a challenge sometimes, unless you fully know it's solid there. Be extremely careful of that once you've already seen somebody else go through, right? And like we said, don't go try to help somebody who's sunk. You stay, 15, 20, 30, 40 feet back as far as you can and toss them a rope or something and help pull them onto the, but if you go out now, you got two people in the water, right? Two people struggling, right?
Exactly. So for us in emergency services, the way we go is we usually follow this order. Coach, try to help them get out of the ice themselves. Reach, if we have something long enough that we can reach them, pull them in. Throw, if we have something we can throw, if they're far enough out. Then it's row. We have a banana boat is what we call it. We row out to them or go into the water. You know what I mean? So going into the water to help folks, generally last option. Should be for you folks out there too. Now, it's been 22 minutes. I'm going to end with a little story because I can actually relate to this one. I have had, it was borderline severe hypothermia from falling through and going in the water. Very common situation, at least where I respond to here. Smelt fishing or spear fishing used to be done very commonly at one of the harbors where I was from. Spear fishing has since been outlawed, and now everything's done with a string. But in the time, you were allowed to fish with a spear. Tide was out. This is tidal water. Smelts come in salt water, so it was tidal water. Tide was out. Easy to walk on the land. Went out, did spear fishing for probably 6-7 hours. You know what I mean? Go to come back in, tide came in. The entire ice chunk, which is brackish ice, by the way, it's salt ice, generally not as secure as freshwater ice anyway. The whole chunk had picked up, moved out. So it was only about 10-15 feet to land. And I seen a spot where I'm like, oh, it still looks kind of solid there. Maybe I can hop along it. Came out to be this kind of frazzle slush or snow ice, whatever you want to call it. It was snowing. Well, it was there. It settled on some little ice chunks. Looked like it froze a little finger out there. I'm like, heck yeah, I'm going for it. Didn't check it, nothing like that. I figured in my teenage head, 17, if I run across that, I should be able to keep ahead of the ice breaking and I'm going to get to shore nice and dry. Ben, you can probably see where this is going. Running on the ice compounds problems. Now you are thumping a foot down, so your entire weight, one small area, so 300-pound boy running on a 10.5-inch foot, push straight down to the ice, straight to my neck. Good news was that's as deep as the water was. Hit me about here. I was like, well, crap, now I'm wet. How am I going to get out of this? Only 15 feet to shore, fought my way through the ice, got up on shore. Here's where the problem comes. Who's coming to get me? I had walked to this place and it was a 5-kilometer walk. So I walk out, there is kind of a meeting area there. I see somebody else in a truck. Same thing. They're wet, they're trying to warm up. I go up, knock on the window. Hey man, I just went through the ice. I live like 5 kilometer away from here. You know what I mean? Like 2.5 minutes up the road. He's like, man, yeah, I'll give you a drive, but you're not getting in the truck. You're soaked. Hop on back. Mistake number 2 that Robert made, because remember when Ben said earlier, the second you get out of the water because the wind going by you is going to make you colder faster, don't get on back in the truck. Or at least shelter yourself from the wind to some degree so it's not being peeled off you. Once again, teenage Rob went, oh yeah, man, that's only like 3 minutes up the road. I can handle this. Hopped in the back of the truck. I didn't account for the ride out of the road, which Buddy was driving incredibly slow, added another 3 minutes on it. So now I've been in the water, maybe 7 minutes, out of the water, maybe 10 minutes, driving down a road, maybe 3 minutes. We're still under 30 minutes. But at this point is when I start noticing I can't feel my hands anymore. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to like zip my coat up and I can't make my hands do the things that I wanted to do. Because at this point I'm like, I'm getting cold. So anyway, I'm trying to zip it up and I notice, oh, hey, my hands aren't working. I'm like, it's cold, no worries about it. So now we hit the main road and we're driving up, doing about 80 kilometers an hour on the back of a truck. For those of you from the US, 80 kilometers an hour is like what, Ben, would that be 50 mile an hour? Somewhere in there?
50 mile, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, not going crazy fast, but not crawling along either. We travel the 5 kilometers up, stops, I bang on the cab. Hey man, let me out here. I go to jump out of the truck. Hand misses, or it actually hits, but I have no dexterity to it. My arm buckles, I fall on the ground, don't feel any of it. You know what I mean? That's my first, oh God moment, something's not right. Because I mean, I ate crap. There's no other way to say this. And I bounce up and I'm like, I didn't feel a thing. Something's not right. But he said, you all right? And I'm like, dude, didn't feel a thing. Thanks. My driveway is roughly 300 feet with knee-deep snow at this point. So I'm starting to walk in. About halfway in, this is where I start losing my cognitive abilities. I know what I'm doing. I know my points to get home, but I stop realizing little things like I had walked out of my boots. My boots were behind me by 100 feet, never even noticed they come off. I stumbled a couple times. I thought I was just tripping in the snow. I'd gone another 100 feet. Believe it or not, I'd walked out of my pants. Just jeans. We've talked about these in the past. Not the best things to have, but they get heavy, they freeze, they go long, they start falling off you. Once again, didn't realize it because I thought I was just stumbling through the snow. And I can hear you folks now. How did you not realize you're walking out of a pair of pants? Cognitive abilities have been affected. Usually a pretty sharp kid, and I'm not talking intelligent, but at least I can notice when my pants are falling off. Didn't even pick up on it. Walked the rest of the way into my house. So yet another about 100 feet. All this stuff's behind me. I don't notice it. I get to the doorknob, realize I can't make my hands open the doorknob. And now I'm actually starting to shut down. Now I'm like, having a hard time putting thoughts together. All I know is I got to get in the house. Finally, eventually got my, wrists to open the door, get through the house, walk in. Nobody's home because at this point I didn't know, but my mother had gone to look for me because I didn't come home at the time I was supposed to. We passed each other on the road. That's another story. The dishwater was full. And I'm like, well, that's got to be warm. I'll put my hands in there to warm it up so that I can get myself put together. You know what I mean? Still hadn't noticed I was out of my boots, my pants, or any of this stuff. All I knew was my hands were so cold I couldn't make them work. So I dived them into the water. Single most pain I've ever experienced in my life, to the point where I actually passed out. I wake up a couple days later in bed. That's the end of the story for me. Apparently, my parents had come home, found me, door still open, arms kind of half up, passed out on the floor, and they had put me in the shower. As well-intentioned as they had been, they put me into something called aftershock. Basically, as your extremities and stuff like that warm up, blood starts flowing from the core back out to them. They get cold because it's in the extremities, flows back into your core. You actually end up dropping temperature again. Even though you're in a warm environment, you drug all that cold from your arms into your core, your temperature drops, sends you into what's called aftershock or afterdrop. And anyway, I damn near died from it. You know what I mean? After I'd woken up and went through this, we eventually went to the hospital. This was from lack of knowledge, and one of the reasons that I became so passionate about ice rescue and stuff like that is because I lived it. And at the time, I will tell you folks, you don't know you're freezing. You know you're cold, but you don't realize to the extent of it. And that is kind of where the problem rolls in from this. A lot of folks get cold, don't realize how cold they've gotten, think they can push through it, and then unfortunately they expire or get themselves into real damage with severe hypothermia, frostbite, and stuff like that. And I mean, relatively young kid, I bounced back relatively good, but you can still see some of the things that happened on me, and this was over 30 years ago. You notice my beard doesn't grow perfectly center in the middle there? That was damage caused by freezing my face. Same as down through here, this you're seeing here. That's all damage from freezing my face. Up here in my head, I still carry red marks from the frostbite. I don't mind discussing this at this point, just to prove a point. At the time, they didn't think I was going to be able to have kids from damage that was caused by freezing. It wrecked me, in all honesty. And it was so simple and so easy to do is the main point of this whole story, folks. Young kid, thought he knew better, then thought he was tough enough, almost died from, a tale of tragic mistakes one after another. And I didn't consider myself a dumb kid or an uneducated kid by any stretch of the imagination. It's just I didn't know enough at the time, which brings me full circle to why I wanted to do this video, because this is about the time of year when I went through and almost froze to death. Funny story is, it happened 2 more times, different instances, and I was significantly better off because I understood the situation. Once was out with search and rescue, and I pushed myself too far, and the second time was on a boat that we were doing another rescue, and it went awry, and I went over and got cold, and that was only mild hypothermia. You get the shivers and stuff like that. It's annoying, but not terrible. This was the only time I had severe hypothermia to the point where it actually caused me true bodily harm. You know what I mean? Oh, my ears? I still can't go outside with the slightest breeze. They'll freeze. I have no circulation in my feet. They're constantly numb and tingling and frozen. Like, it stays with you, folks, for the, how many minutes would that have been that I talked through my story, Ben? It was less than an hour. I can tell you that, but I did everything wrong.
So what would you have done where Buddy asked you to get in back of the truck? How would you have dealt with that now?
So now, the reality is nowadays probably wouldn't have been an issue because cell phones. You know what I mean? You're never not connected. But assuming I or himself did not have a cell phone, I consider myself well educated now. I would have been like, dude, you think I'm wet? Now I'm naked. And in the truck I would have went, you know what I mean? I would have left my underwear on, some common decency, but I would have like, if the wet is the only thing keeping me out of the heat, guess what's coming off? This crap can stay here. I can either come back for it or the next poor soul can have it because my life's more important. I'm getting in there. They can keep everything. The fishing gear, my clothes, it's all theirs. Because at the end of the day, I still went home, or I would still go home. In the situation where that was impossible, I would have looked for a better way to cover myself from the wind while traveling. And I should have been doing that when walking or anything else. You know what I mean? Ultimately, I probably would have been better off walking out of there because it would have kept me moving. And that's arguable. You know what I mean? There's different thoughts on that. So I'm leaving that open for other debate. But in this situation, I probably would have been better off instead of just standing there with wind blowing over me. You know what I mean? But yeah, I would have tried to shelter myself a little bit instead of sitting up on the corner watching things go by. At least duck down in the box and got my back up against somewhere where the wind would be off me a little bit better.
Like, yeah, in the back, you probably should have been almost in the fetal position behind the
pretty much back against the box as far in as I could in that dead little crook where the air doesn't get you, and just stuck my head up as I had to.
Had a tarp or a blanket wrapped around you at the very least.
Mylar,
but honestly,
those Mylar safety blankets. Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
If you had any of that, put that on the seat and sit inside. And yes, you get a bit on the carpet, but man, pay the guy a detailing. Don't worry, I'll get your car detailed for you.
I was going to say, right? There is no way this side of hell, if that happened this day and age, that I would have been on back of that truck. Like, I would have been fist fighting the guy out in the parking lot if it came down to that. I'd be like, no, man, you're sentencing me to death. I've played this game and it comes out bad for me. I'll take my chances here right now with you.
Call your insurance company because your truck's just been stolen, buddy.
Pretty much. How about you ride on back? You know what I mean? Your seat's already wet. But yeah, folks, like I said, I joke about this because I can take it lightly because, the past is in the past. But the reality is it can happen fast. And I see it a lot. I don't know if you were a part of, and I'm not going to mention the name, were you part of the search here on Mount Tom for the young fella that got lost back in 2008, maybe 7.
No, I don't think I would.
Okay. So
But I've
same
heard of
thing.
it.
Young fella, he was in the woods in a cabin with his friends. For whatever reason, he went for a walk, never came back. Later to be found out, he fell into a small pond, got cold, got disoriented. The kicker on all of this is once you get cold enough, you actually start to feel warm. You don't have any of that dexterous movement. You look like you're drunk, but you start feeling warm. And he had taken his coat off, laid it down beside him, and basically was like curled up next to it. And that's where we found him a couple weeks later under the snow. You know what I mean? And that's the unfortunate reality is that's a more common story than it needs to be just due to lack of education.
Well, that's one thing we were taught oftentimes is that a lot of hypothermia people are found naked or close to naked in the woods. And that's part of the reason is they actually feel over hot at some point. They're not, they're freezing to death, but they feel that like their senses are down and their, like you said, their cognitive reasoning is no longer there. They should realize that they're cold, even if they feel differently and act that way, but they miss cues. They also miss escape routes and stuff like that, like options to get out of it. And then the other thing I think you brought up is if you're in that situation, definitely get yourself to a hospital. Don't try to self-treat when you get home. That aftershock is really real, and the doctors have the ability to reheat you safer and then deal with any complications that come along. Some people say, well, just get them in a nice bath of hot water. And not only is that going to be possibly the most painful thing you've ever done, it may very well cause a lot of damage if not done correctly. So,
and you know what?
If you
it could be one of the reasons I have nerve damage now. Yet to be determined. I've decided not to go down that road and find out. Fact of the matter is, got it. Is what it is.
Yeah. So, it's really important to take care of ourselves. We only get one shot at this. If you screw it up, you can definitely have long-term implications with all of this stuff. But the big things are if you're going to be carrying around ice, I recommend ice picks. I definitely recommend a decent walking stick, something a little bit longer than maybe you'd normally take. And that's something you can hit the ice quite a ways away. And then even if you do go through,
there's where mine is onto me. Like it's up to at least my chin, and this is my shorter stick.
Yeah. And like you said, you can reach out and test the ice quite a ways away from you. You can really ram it if you need to. And you can also put it across and gives you something to support yourself if you do go through. And if somebody in the area goes through, you can use it to reach out to them without going too close. So those are things that are really, really useful. And then the other thing, like you said, if you do get out, get yourself dry and warm as soon as possible. If you can do it in the first couple of minutes, you really have avoided a lot of issues. But as the temperatures get worse, it's more and more important that you vitally get to a hospital and treat yourself. Yeah. And I think those are the big things I wanted to hit today. And I think your story should hit home for a lot of people.
I was good. I threw the story in at the end because we had a little bit of time. Apparently that took us over to 37 minutes, so this was longer than I expected anyway, but I do think the story served a purpose. You know what I mean? I can laugh about myself. I'm not going to tell tales about other people. I can give you my experiences, and I'm 100% willing to do that. I just noticed more spots under my neck that don't grow. Anyway, that's why I grew a beard to some degree, was to try and hide all that stuff in. Anyway, yeah, folks, hopefully the story resonates a little bit. Hopefully you folks learned something. Big takeaway. I'm all for having fun. Just do it safe. You know what I mean? Know your enemy. And in this instance right now, the enemy's ice. Just know how to handle it. Make good decisions. Still have your fun. Please come back and let us know about it. You know what I mean? That's all we want is you folks to come back, share your stories. All right, folks. We'll talk to you next week. Have a good night.
Night out.